Welcome back to another edition of HSA Today. I'm your host, Chuck Taylor. And as each and every time we get together, we talk about things that matter to you, things that are on your radar, things that have implications right here in the Cayman Islands. And today we're diving into a subject that is close to a lot of people's heart. We're talking about cancer services and Cancer Research Month, which is the month of May, and also June Cancer Survivor Day, which is June 5th, is coming up right around the corner. So we decided that we would dive right into it and get a conversation going and find out all the wonderful service that HSA has for your needs, and also talk to a survivor of cancer and find out about all the trials and tribulations and also the triumph that she has been going through. We want to thank from the Cancer Registrar, Miss Amanda. Good morning.
Morning.
And also Miss Amica. How are you doing?
Doing good, thank you.
So let's just start right into it. What is National Cancer Research Month?
National Cancer Research Month was started by the American Association for Cancer Research, and its goal is to really highlight the importance of this life-saving research that benefits people all over the world who have been impacted by cancer. And there are a lot of different things that people can do to show awareness for National Cancer Research Month. Mm-hmm. You can take to social media and share information, share experiences. And one thing that is sort of unique to the Cayman Islands that people can do is to participate in our National Cancer Registry. And what that is it's all about cancer research. Mm-hmm. We're trying to lay down a foundation of information that lets us see how cancer trends are impacting our community. So when cancer survivors take a few minutes of their time to share a little bit of information about their experience, their diagnosis, that really helps us move forward in terms of prevention and management. We're
a pretty small knit community, so it really impacts us on a very personal level. You know, I think, there are places in the world that people say, I knew somebody and I knew somebody, but here it really, it takes right from the family. It's someone that's a cousin, an aunt, an uncle. It's very close in-house. Speaking
Absolutely.
of in-house, Miss Amica, starting the conversation, if you don't know, Miss Amica is a cancer survivor. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, I am a diabetic and hypertensive person, so I go to the doctor regular for my checkup. And my doctor was Dr. Borido Mercedes. She said, "When last have you done a mammogram?" And I said, "I have never done a mammogram." And she requested that I go and get a mammogram done. Mm-hmm. And so when I went and get the mammogram done, they found something like an island underneath my breast. I went away, nothing was said to me, but then the doctor called me and she said, "I make an appointment for you to see a surgeon." And
that fast?
That was it, yes.
Wow. So if you don't mind me asking, you said you had your first mammogram.
Mm-hmm.
What was your age for that?
58.
Wow. Wow. Okay. And I had a very good cousin of mine who she had her first mammogram, I do believe, in her late 40s. And she was diagnosed with cancer also. So this is one of the things that I try to employ with people. Get checkup regularly. Start the process early so that you can find out if there is a possibility of a problem. You can approach it from a diagnosis of prevention rather than after the fact. Sorry to interrupt, but just please continue.
That's fine, but from the way I saw the person who was doing the mammogram, she anticipated. And I said, "Can you turn that monitor?" So I looked at it. And I said, "Oh, this is a little island underneath my breast." In my family, on my mother's side, cancer, breast cancer. So I figured that was it. And I went to the surgeon and he laid out everything on the table. But he said, "I have to do a biopsy to make sure what it was." And I said, "Fine with me." And he did the biopsy. And a week after, he called and said, "Can you come and see me in my office?" I said to my supervisor, "This is it." And I went, and they're talking. I said, "Come on, Dr. Matthews, tell me it's cancer. When can you do the surgery?" And he said, "How do you know that?"
I just automatically...
I just said it to him. And he said, "I've made arrangement to have your surgery done next week, Friday. So I have to go through the other process of doing, the necessary arrangement for surgery." But I didn't take it for anything. I went home.
You're a strong woman.
I have one son. He was the one who broke down.
Mm-hmm.
But 2 days after, when I was having my breakfast, I burst in tears. And I cried, and that was it.
I think, in not bringing in culture into it, but we as West Indians have a very quiet look on doctors. We don't like to go to doctors. We don't like to go to checkups. You almost have to go to the door and bang on it to get them out of the house to do this. But this is part of the world that we live in. This is part of the situation that we need to take account of, because it's our health that we're talking about, and we only get one shot at this. This is it. This is it. Miss Amanda, tell me a little bit about the cancer research, how it's impacting our community here.
There's a pretty big lack of data about cancer in the Cayman Islands right now, which is why the Cancer Registry was started. But what we need is to really understand just basic things like how many people are getting cancer, what kinds of cancer are the most common. So we really need to do more research locally. We can go off statistics from the United States or the UK, but that's not Cayman. There's over 135 different nationalities here. We're a real different mix.
Right.
So until we can better understand through cancer research how this disease is impacting us, it sort of puts us at a disadvantage when it comes to really trying to mitigate that disease.
And that information starts on, as you said, what people are doing, who you are, your age, where your background is. Is it in your family? Has been anyone else been diagnosed with it? Because these are things that help build that database towards the next person, to next generation, and also a resource. Would I be correct in saying that?
Absolutely. And another thing it's useful for is, not just looking at hereditary factors, but also we can look for cancer clusters. Are there certain parts of these islands that are seeing higher rates than other? And if so, what's the reason for it?
Yeah, you can start digging into the what, why, and when more than just dealing with it after the facts. Because we know we all have to deal with it. Once you're diagnosed with it, that's it. But what led up to that is really the information that is lacking at this point in time.
Yes, that's what we need for good prevention programs is to understand how and why it's happening.
So as we were talking about it, Miss Amica, the events leading up to your diagnosis, you gave us a little snapshot of that. You discovered it and it fast-tracked. The days before you weren't feeling well. Tell me a little bit about that.
I never have any symptoms pertaining to cancer. I just go to get a checkup for my blood pressure and my diabetes.
Okay.
And was sent to do a mammogram.
So it was just by chance.
By chance.
That
yes,
they found this.
Yes. I said to the surgeon, "Can you remove both breasts?" And he said, "No."
Because it's only in one.
Only in one. But then in 2019, it hit me again in the other breast.
Wow. So you are a strong woman to be sitting here talking with us. And it's understandable, we always say you have that understanding when you're in the mix, you're in it. There's nothing you can do but keep moving forward. But then how do we keep detacting from what we're doing to say, okay, you know what? This is prevention is better than cure. Yeah. How can we make sure that, someone younger start from your 20s, start from your late 20s, getting checkup, getting these types of things done. And also men, testicular cancer. I've watched that become a common word here in Cayman for men. Back in the day, I remember growing up and it was the big C or, when the big K they used to call it because they didn't want to say C because it was, cancer. And it was slated as something that was, something that you didn't talk about if someone died.
I think that's a part of the problem is that it really is something people are afraid to discuss. But if we don't have conversations and share information, we can't move forward on it.
True.
How can I get involved? If I wanted to give information, how would I see about doing that with it?
That's a good question. Registering is pretty straightforward and it's very fast. We ask cancer survivors to fill out a one-page form, and it's really basic information. It's not as though you need to go and get a copy of your medical record or anything like that. It's mostly demographic. So it only takes a couple of minutes to register. And it's confidential. We don't share the information with anyone outside the registry. And Yeah, it's when we have enough people doing this, and we've had around 700 so far take the time
Okay.
to register. But the more information you get, the clearer a picture it is of,
What's going
what's
on?
going on. Yeah.
And I think that is one of the benefits for the island, and part of it is building the conversation. I know, as we said earlier, it's here. We know it's here, but it's underlying. No one wants to have that frank conversation. I think that's the start of it that we really, really need to discuss. And the suffering. I can't even imagine how it can be. But I guess, Miss Amica, you can tell us some of the trials and things that you had to endure. I mean, just the therapy and things. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, as for me, I am very outspoken. I talk to everybody, even the children, about cancer because I'm in the school system. And I remember when I was doing chemo and my head get so bald. And I went to school and they were looking and I said, oh, it's cancer,
What's going on?
Yeah, and I said, I guess you're talking about my head. But it's cancer, And they said, oh, my. I tell everybody, And so I did my chemo treatment. I did 12 months of chemotherapy.
12 months.
12 months. I go through the ups and the downs, but I'm always smiling.
You seem like a very jovial person.
Very.
Okay.
I'm always smiling. I'm the life of the party when you go to cancer function. I'm always smiling, and I pushed through. I did not listen to rumors. Oh, you have to take this, you have to take that. No. And I was told, do not go on the internet because it can mislead you.
I keep hearing that from not just the cancer side of it, but just the medical side of it. A lot of people think, well, I have a problem. Let me go look it up and try. It's good to be informed, but at the same time, you have to understand that this is not you. These places that they're talking about has nothing to do with you. And most times, it's not even qualified doctors that are giving this information.
Yeah.
So I check my physician if I need advice, Back to my surgery. I did my surgery at the HSA. I was well treated, well taken care of. I love it there. And so when I was diagnosed in 2019, I was 70.
No,
right in the pandemic.
I'm looking at you. You are what they call spring chicken. You are a young lady.
Right in the pandemic. And I said, may I have the same surgeon, Dr. Matthews? I request him again. And he said, when I saw your paper, I said, oh my God, and she told me to take off both breasts, and I did not. But when you remove one breast, every year you have to do a mammogram.
Correct.
And so they found it in the other breast. And I was so lucky that day they did the biopsy right there.
Okay. Wow.
I have a relationship with them, and I said, please, the pandemic, blah, blah, blah. And they did the biopsy right there. And so they sent it away. The physician said to me, Miss Amica, from I removed the breast, I see that it was cancer, but we have to get proof. So we have to send it away. Then I met with Dr. Richards. The first oncologist was Dr. Wharf. But then I met with Dr. Richards and we formed a bond together. And he walked me down the line and he said, well, I have to send away things again to test for you. I said, but this is stage 1. I don't have to do chemo. And he said, yeah. I said, no, I'm not doing any chemo. And he called my son. And he explained to my son, and my son said, Mommy, you got to do the chemo because I don't want to hear cancer come back again.
Right.
And so I did it. So I did 4 months of chemo this time.
4 months of chemo.
But this last chemo, I've been to hell and back.
This one was more difficult.
Oh, very. But I survived.
Okay.
And I go around and I talk and I laugh same way.
Cancer on a whole puts your life on a hold. It didn't put your life. No. You can.
For me, my life was not on a hold. At the first stage of the first cancer, I was at John Gray High School. And I worked right during that time. Do chemo, go to work, everything. I never stopped working because of chemo.
Wow.
I felt bad in the morning, and my supervisor sent me to the restroom, and she said, go and cool off and come back. And I work right along, never stop, non-stop.
You are a poster child. I'll tell you that. I mean, I've heard and I've seen some people go through it, and it makes me lose my voice just thinking about it.
And I have the symptoms that other people have. But I think positive.
Right.
You know, and the support.
That's a big thing.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, people have a tendency to think of cancer as a death sentence.
No.
And I think that is a very cultural thing also. Especially with West Indian, you know, the every sickness, oh, you're gonna die from it. Oh, you know, but there are treatment, there's a quality of life that research and also information helps maintain and build.
I think that's a really important point too. I do think a lot of people, when they first get the cancer diagnosis, they think, well, that's it, game over. But the fact is, nowadays, we have so many more different options for treatment than we did even just a few decades ago.
Right.
And people are living longer and longer, and more people are beating it. So I think your mental state plays a huge role in how you get through it.
And that's part of, I think, the positivity, also the support that you have, because you were talking about your son, you're talking about HSA. Those are the kind of things that give you the encouragement to continue the mental aspect of it. Because the body, you know, I've always been a firm believer, the body follows the mind. If you wake up and you're thinking, I'm going to have a bad day, you're going to have a bad day.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost, you know, I tell my daughter and my wife that. I said, you know, we wake up in the morning and we have our positive thoughts and we go through that, you know, how the day is going to play out. Because if you don't do that, that negative aspect comes in.
You're just setting yourself up for it.
Right.
Yeah.
You're definitely setting yourself up for that. Getting back to the cancer registry, how long has the cancer registry been in existence? You were telling me about it here in Cayman.
I wasn't the first registrar, so it was here before me.
Right.
But I think I have been there for about 8 years now.
Okay.
So it's been around for a little while, and I can really see over time how this has become a little more acceptable than it was when we first launched it. People were a little skeptical, as they should be, because your confidentiality is important.
Right.
But I think we've gained a little bit more of trust from the community. We're seeing more and more people register, and I think a lot of folks are starting to see the value in it.
The benefit for it is immense, not just in research aspect of it, but also being able to network and keep that idea going that, you know what, there is a place for you. There is a place to help you. There is a place, you know, I'm sure you provide plenty of resource activities and information of that sort. Can you give me a little bit about the current status of it now?
Sure. I actually have some statistical data that I ran off to share. At the moment, of the people, and again, this is just people who registered. This isn't everyone who's been diagnosed with cancer in Cayman. But the most commonly reported cancers for men are prostate cancer, cancers of the blood, and then in third place we have both colon and lung cancer.
Okay.
And for women, the most common is breast cancer, followed by colon cancer. The third most reported are cancers of the blood and ovarian. And it's interesting to note that breast cancer is by far the most reported cancer. About a third of the cases in there are breast cancer.
Okay.
And it's also important to keep in mind that we have more female registrants than male, so that might be part of the reason for that. But yeah, we have seen an awful lot of breast cancer survivors come to the registry. Another interesting statistic that we see is of those breast cancer patients who are registered, about 14% of them were diagnosed under the age of 40, and that's kind of a high percentage.
Yeah, I would tend to think that the number would have been higher towards the age, because just the age-wise, if I look at some of the statistics in the U.S., because I did a little research, and they're about 52 to 53 going up. So we are quite young in the nature of things with it. But it could be just we're just reporting it at that age too.
It could be. It could be from a lot of factors, but it's information like that that's going to let you know what age should we start recommending that women in Cayman have mammograms. Maybe we need to start a little younger here.
Yeah, and that's just it. I mean, over the years, because being a man, you keep hearing the testicular cancer, but men get breast cancer also.
Yes.
These are in blood cancer and things of that nature. I mean, lung cancer, of course, if you're a smoker and things of that nature. But outside of that, just historically, those types of things was always the negative. As we said, it's very cultural with the West Indian, especially with the males. We don't want to go to doctor. We'll walk around with a broken foot for a month till it heals and then have to re-break it again. And I know because I watch people do that.
Very true.
Cancer is a thing that we do need to keep discussing. And as I said, this is National Cancer Research Month. And just passing the information on so that we can keep building upon it, I think that's critical at this point in time.
I should also mention, if there are any cancer survivors listening who want to register, they can go to the Health Services Authority's website, the Breast Cancer Foundation's website, or the Cancer Society's website, and they can find the form they need to fill out. And all of my contact information is on there. I'm always happy to talk to people, even if they just want to ask a few questions and decide whether or not they'd like to register.
Understandable. Going back to Miss Amica, as a cancer survivor, I mean, I know every day is a challenge, but what's the specific moment that you were like, I need to get this and get myself together and focus? I mean, because I think we all have that moment that the shock is over. Now it's like, get down to business. You're like, okay, I know this is happening. It's not a bad dream. This is real. I just need to get in and take this thing, get care of.
I'm always thinking positive, as I tell you. And I tell myself that I would have to take care of myself for me and not for anyone else. So I try to take care of myself. And I try to eat right. And I eat in moderation.
Okay.
And some people say sugar and red meat. I eat them, but I eat in moderation.
Okay.
You see?
So you change to moderate.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And because I'm diabetic, it's sugar, but I still do a little of that.
Okay.
But in moderation.
That probably is the key in a lot of places. And even here, we over excessive with food. The number one thing, we love our good food, and I think we're all kind of aware of that, but it's in moderation that we need to take a look at things, and anything overly is not going to be good for you.
No.
I'm a firm believer in eating proper, but sometimes you break that, you cheat, but then you have to realize you don't cheat every day.
No.
You can't have a whole bunch of sweets and things that know are not going to be. I go through the processed sugar, and I have to hit myself in the head sometimes, be like, don't drink so much coffee, don't drink so much, and I realize that after a week or two, I don't crave it as much as I used to.
Yeah, I find that to be true. I do the same thing.
Yeah.
I try to be healthy 99% of the time, but every once in a while, you've got to indulge.
That kind of keeps you from wanting it all the time.
I think so.
And I think that is one of the things that we really need to be aware of, that, these moments in time and having conversations like this is also to help people out there who are struggling, because I talk to them all the time and say, guys, I'm hiding the sugar from you. You can drink tea with one rather than 6, those types of things, because after a while, we do this every day. We do this every day, and it's not healthy for us.
And I think diet, a proper diet, is a big part of cancer prevention. But I also think that these days we're at a disadvantage because there is so much processed, sugary food available to us.
Quick.
Whereas a couple generations ago, that wouldn't have been quite as much of a thing. There's a lot of temptation when it comes to bad food.
Exactly. I tell people, I said, you know what, when you grow up as kids, they always like, make sure you have a colorful plate, all the colors and you tend not to see that too much nowadays. You tend not to see that. And that, I think that is one of the things that we have to kind of go back to is getting on that healthier walk, because at some point in time, we're going to have to do it anyway. So why not start earlier?
Make it a habit earlier.
Miss Amica, you were telling us you were in treatment for you did the chemo the first time for...
Okay, the first diagnosis, I did it for chemo for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
I chose to do my treatment in Cayman. My only son, he would have to take time off from work to be back and forth with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, where do you do your treatment? I said at HSA. Oh no, I'm going to Miami. I said I'm going to do it right here. I have no regrets, And so, for the 1 year treatment, fine. After that, I have to meet with the oncologist. And so I went on the 5-year tablets.
Mm-hmm.
Then the last of the 5-year, Dr. Wolf said, I'm off it. But then I switched to Dr. Richards, who is now on island.
Mm-hmm.
And, those people over by chemotherapy department, they are so friendly. They treat you like you're one. We are family. We are family there.
Fantastic.
Yeah. First thing, would you like a cup of tea?
They really take care of you.
They take care, yes. And I appreciate that. I have no fault with Cayman Islands Hospital.
Hearing that, what keep your spirit up? Because you seem to be like just the natural, effervescence, bubbly all the time. Where do you get this from?
God, that's me, just Miss Amica.
Mm-hmm.
I have 5 grandkids, my son and his wife,
mm-hmm.
and I'm the life of the party for them. And the kids, Grandma, let me see the breast, and I show it to them. Yeah.
Well, that way they're not afraid of it.
No.
Right.
It's just
it's part of your life.
Let me see the breast, and I showed it to them, and I tell them about it.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that boggles the mind, because my generation, I'm not saying I'm old or young, but that was unheard of. We couldn't even fathom the idea of what that was. We just said, they removed the breast. Okay, that was it.
No.
It was almost taboo, like don't look at her, don't talk about it. It's an embarrassment for her. And that was what we grew up talking and thinking, when you're here as a firm testament that that's not correct.
Mm-hmm.
We have to teach these kids that life continues on. Life is still good. Honestly,
I am a 2-time survivor. 2009 and 2019, right in the pandemic, and I'm still going strong. I have no regrets. And some people, when I'm talking to them about cancer, because I did not do a reconstruction.
mm-hmm.
I wear a prosthesis.
Right.
I just, see, they're both gone. Nothing is there. Oh, it doesn't look like you have. I say, it was there, but it is now gone.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, how can I say this? With understanding comes better treatment, because for us growing up, it was always you were less of a woman if you had one breast, or you. I remember hearing conversations like that. Oh, she had her breast removed. She's going to be less of a woman, and not thinking about it, but thinking about it now, I realize how totally obscure, almost medieval thinking that was back then.
I think that's starting to change a little bit, though. I think some of the younger generations aren't looking at this thing as being quite so taboo as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Here in Cayman, we are very lucky to have Breast Cancer Foundation.
Yes.
Because if one breast is gone, they're there to give you the prosthesis
Mm-hmm.
And if he doesn't tell anybody that is one breast, they won't know. Because look at me, my 2 breasts is gone. And if I don't tell you that I don't have any breasts, you wouldn't know
that. It would
that.
not even know.
And I could be wrong about this, but I think the Breast Cancer Foundation is the only place in the Caribbean that offers that prosthetic service.
And it's free.
Oh,
Wow.
We doesn't pay for it.
Wow.
We get the bra, we get the breast. We doesn't pay for it.
they're a fantastic
God for that.
organization. Yeah.
Wow. Kudos to all of the people that's involved in the breast cancer here. I mean, we hear about it, but we hear about it from the outside. This is a real eye opener. Turn the light on, having this conversation here today, and that's what we hope to inspire and hope to continue on. We're going to take a little break right here. You're listening to HSA Today with Chuck Taylor, and I have with me Miss Amanda from the Cancer Registrar and also Miss Amica, cancer survivor. We'll be back in a few minutes.
The Health Services Authority's new pharmacy is now open at the Smith Road Medical Center. The new location features a large, comfortable waiting area and ticketing system to improve the patient experience. All uncollected prescriptions and refill requests previously submitted will now be available for collection at the Smith Road Pharmacy. Request your refills online at hsa.ky via WhatsApp 925-6532 or call 244-2715. For more information about our pharmacy hours, visit hsa.ky.
Thank you for listening. We are back. It's HSA Today. I'm your host, Chuck Taylor. And with us, we have from the Cancer Registry, Miss Amanda, and we also have a cancer survivor, Miss Amica. We're just having a very frank and honest conversation about some of the things that you go through with the cancer, just from all aspects of it, from every walk of life, and also how you can take control and have a better idea of what to deal with, how it impacts the community and these things. And just a reminder that Cancer Research Month is the month of May, and also Cancer Survivor Day, which is coming up, which is June 5th. So mark that on your calendar and, do something positive. Go out there because cancer, I believe, can attack anyone at any point in time. And it doesn't just, we think of cancer is, the number one, breast cancer, and we have men's cancer, but there are tons of other things that fall under that category that are life-threatening. Mm-hmm. And we'll talk a little bit about more of that, when we get to the doctor side of it. But right now, today, we're talking about the registry. And so what's one of the benefits that we can get from registering? We talked about it earlier, but just give me another scope of that.
Well, it's health registry information is really the bedrock of any sort of planning that you want to do. For example, let's say somebody wants to open up a new chemotherapy treatment unit. Well, how many oncologists do you need? How much medication do you need? You don't know that unless you have some idea of how many people are getting cancer. It can also help us see if there are environmental factors at play. Maybe there's something carcinogenic in some part of the island that could be dealt with. Mm-hmm. It lets us plan for whether or not current prevention programs are working. You take your data, you develop a program, and then you track whether or not are we seeing, rates increase, decrease. But most countries, nearly all countries, have some form of a cancer registry.
Right. There's a database for them to look back and say, hey, this is going on.
And ours is a little different because it is voluntary. But typically, the way a cancer registry would work, in the U.S., for example, when someone's diagnosed at a hospital, that hospital reports the data to a state registry. The state registry reports it to the Center for Disease Control, and they process the information. Mm-hmm. But here, all we have is the voluntary registry. Okay. So it's really critically important that as many cancer survivors as possible take the time to register. And it's unfortunate that the burden must be placed on them to do this. But unfortunately, that's where we're at right now. Right.
Because remember, folks, just diving in, it's personal information, and no one can give that on your behalf. It has to be you.
Right. We must have their signature, which reflects their content to participate.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And I think that is where we need to clear the myth onto it and be, to let that there's a lot of people there, but that's not everyone that you have there.
Oh, no.
No, not by a far shot. There are a lot of survivors out there that haven't registered, and we implore you to be proactive to help us with this cause and get on board. And if they need to do that, how can they get in contact with you?
I was just going to go there. Thank you. Yes, well, for anyone listening, my phone number is 244-2560. But again, if you go to the HSA's website, all my contact information is on there. But if someone wants to register, we can do it lots of different ways. I try to do whatever is easiest for the cancer survivor. Some people prefer to do it via email. You know, I send the form, they fill it out, and they send it back. Others want to have more of a conversation, so I can meet with them. I meet with a lot of cancer survivors over at the Cancer Society, which is just right next to the hospital.
Right.
And Cancer Society's been fantastic. They've got this little room set up in the back that's very comfortable. I can sit there, have a conversation. If they choose to register, we can do it right there.
Right.
They can also come to my office. There's even been a couple of times where I've gone to cancer survivors' places of work because they just can't get away to do this.
Right.
So anyone interested, give me a call, send me an email, and we'll just figure out what is the easiest thing for them.
Exactly. And once again, folks, this is on a voluntary basis, but it goes far-reaching. You know, it's giving of yourself and to make sure that information is there to continue on to help one day we have a cure for this. You know, that's the bottom line, and to move forward. Miss Amica, we were talking a little bit about it, and you were telling me the ultimate with the hair thing. You got to tell you got to tell me about this. You got to let my listeners know about this.
Okay, Miss Amica used to have hair in her head. But because my hair gets so thin, I decided to cut it. And so when I'm going through my treatment, no one hardly knows because my hair was very low then.
Okay.
And I remember one day I was in the supermarket and a lady said, "Oh, I wish my head could look like yours, you know." And she said, "I love it." I said, "Thank you." But when she walked away, I said, "A pity you didn't know what this is."
The real reason.
It's the chemo why it is so bald.
So it's cut low, but then the chemo made it bald.
Bald, yes. Shine like your forehead there.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
But then I love it. I loved it. I loved it. So I continue to keep it low. When I go to the barber, I said, "Take it all off." I just love it.
Awesome.
That's my look.
That is your very specific look.
So it's not chemo. It's just Miss Amica look.
Just Amica.
I
like that.
Yes.
Definitely. And Miss Amica, I have to tell you, it is a blessing to meet you and talk to you because you give people hope.
Yes.
Your energy, your life, you are the epitome of hope. And I hope people out there, I know we are not on TV and you can't see her, but I will tell you, she is just a shining light in the studio. Very happy, very joyful. In fact, when we're off air, if I'd left it running, you would hear all the conversation because it's been a good conversation. And that's what I think here in Cayman we need. We need to have that conversation.
And I think we need to hear more stories like Miss Amica, you know, the positive attitude, the strength. I think that gives people hope that they can do the same.
Exactly. I mean, you know, we know the negative, we know the stress, and we know the things that are the other side of the fence, the darker side, you know, the those side. But then we don't hear enough of the light side.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that is the key that we really need because that puts it into perspective. You know, not every day is bad.
No, there are good days because doing chemo, you do chemo every 3 weeks. And the first week, going into the second week, it's terrible. But going over to the third week, you start to come together. But then that is the time you have to go back.
Okay.
To get another dose of the chemo. You know?
So tell me a little bit about that process for you. The first day you went in, if you can remember.
For chemotherapy now, the doctor have to insert a port
Okay.
The port is a thing that they insert. It goes to your vein. And when you go to do chemo, the nurses have to flush the port. She cleans it, makes sure it's not clogged.
Mm-hmm.
And then she do whatever she need to put into it, whatever, and then they start to give you the drip there.
Okay.
Some people, if it's 2 shots to doing, they take it in their hand. But for me to do in 12, I wear the port, I get the port.
Okay.
Even the 4, I get a port too.
Okay.
So, and after you keep the port in for about 2 years, and then you have to go back to the surgeon to remove the port.
Okay.
You see. But doing chemo, I don't find it hard. I drove to the chemotherapy department.
What?
My son will come and bring me lunch. Or I have a very good friend, a survivor too.
Mm-hmm.
She will come and she will sit with me. Or a member from my church will come and sit with me.
How long does it take when you go in to get your treatment?
Some treatment lasts for 3 hours. Depends.
On average, 3 hours.
3 hours.
I don't think I can sit 3 hours being normal in one location.
You're looking at the TV.
Not even
relax.
Not even
Sometimes
that.
you fall asleep.
Oh my.
I'd have to fall asleep. I would have to sleep.
I would have to be extremely tired before going so that I could sleep, because in my day to day, I don't think I'm trying to think if I've ever been more than an hour in one location without getting up, and that's just in the nighttime. I can't. Wow.
But it's so relaxing over the chemo department.
Mm-hmm.
Even when they were at HSA, it was good there too. But since they built the new chemo unit, it's relaxing.
It really is. I mean, you know, nobody wants to have to go to the chemotherapy unit, but if you have to go, that's the one you want.
Right.
You get your lunch. They offer you lunch.
Yeah.
They offer you a cup of tea.
It's a very family, a family atmosphere.
Yes.
Very much so.
And not to mention Dr. Richards, who is a darling.
We're lucky to have him.
We are blessed to have him.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
And I would feel more comfortable knowing that my mom was in good hands, such as you're talking about. I mean, we know what you're going through, but to know that there is that support, that added concern, if I'm not, because you know how life is, folks. Life got you busy. Sometimes you can't even pick up kids, much less go to sit down and with someone during therapy for any sort of thing. So to know that they are there to help and to make sure you are comfortable, make sure that you have, I've been to, hospitals in the world for various things, broken hands and things traveling, and they were just very cold. It was very clinical and you were just a number. Mm-hmm. You were literally, 555-4. Okay, you have insurance, you have this, where are you from? And that was it. But to hear what you were talking about, it gives me hope and faith.
Yes.
It does.
I think you're more likely to find that kind of a treatment in smaller communities like Cayman. You know, there's more of a sense of community.
Cayman, everybody know everybody.
I was just going to say that. Everybody knows each
We are
other.
family,
Very, very true.
I tell you, man, at HSA, everybody know Miss Amica. Everybody, from the porter to the cleaner to the nurses to the doctor. And they're so friendly.
You're my Christmas wish now. Yeah, I'm anything I have in Christmas time, I'm going to find you and make sure you come out and you enjoy yourself. Folks, once again, we are listening to HSA today, sitting down having a conversation about Cancer Research Month, which is May, and also Cancer Survivor Day, which is coming up June 5th. I have Miss Amanda, a cancer registrar from HSA, and also Miss Amica, cancer survivor. You should be on a radio show. I could see that happening very easily. But folks, we're having a very frank and honest conversation about one of the highest concerns. Cancer is still one of the top diseases in the world. to date.
I think heart disease is the number one killer, and cancer comes in a very close second.
Yes, exactly. It's very, and this is worldwide we're talking, folks. It's not isolated to Cayman, but what we find here is that we know more people. It just the small community, the small island.
Excuse me, sometimes it's not the cancer that kill you, you fret yourself to death.
Yes.
When you hear you have cancer, you start fretting.
Right. Not eating properly, not sleeping good.
Yes.
You lose all of the good things that made your life happy. And I don't think that is the right thing and the right attitude to have.
No.
Speaking of attitude, Miss Amica, we were talking about keeping your spirits up. The support system that you have, tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, my support system is gorgeous. They are good people. I've my past jobs, because I've been here from mosquito killing cows, so I know a lot of people. And when they hear that Miss Amica in the hospital, everybody coming to look for Miss Amica. And I have support from my family is small, my son and his wife and children. I have support from my church. Oh, they play a big role. The doctors, the nurses, everybody support me. Everybody that I come across, they support me.
Wow.
Yeah, everybody. When I tell them of my situation. And I'm not afraid to tell people that I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And when the second one come around, I remember I'm Lions Club of Tropical Garden. Every October we celebrate Breast Cancer Month, and they asked me to be one of the panelists there.
Mm-hmm.
And when I said, I was diagnosed in 2019, a lady got up, she said, I know about the past one, but I didn't know that you get another. She said, because I see you and you just look normal, same way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think, that's the challenge that we have regarding cancer and cancer research. I mean, locally and internationally, Miss Amanda, what are some of the challenges you see on your forefront there?
Well, I think here in Cayman, the biggest challenge to understanding what's happening is that we're not able to pool data from all of the different hospitals and clinics on island.
Mm-hmm.
Having to rely on a voluntary registry slows things down quite a bit. It's still very helpful. It still gives us a snapshot of what's going on, but it's never going to be as comprehensive as it would be if we could network all of this data and information from all the different hospitals and clinics on the island.
Right.
So that's a little bit of a challenge, yeah.
How can we do that?
Well, what would need to happen, back in 2015, we tried to pass a piece of legislation that would allow for automatic reporting, which means physicians, medical professionals could just send the information directly to the registry.
Okay.
But the bill did not pass, unfortunately. And without that in place, it would be a breach of confidentiality
right.
for medical professionals to just send their patient information directly to the registry.
Okay.
Now, in the U.S. and Canada, the UK, most countries in the world that have registries, that is how they do it. They have legislation in place which will allow for that, which is why, if you go on Google and look up cancer statistics for the United States, there's loads of information available.
Right.
But that's why.
And see, I understand that. I think Cayman has a fear of what we've been talking about. People saying, hey, I have a family member that had cancer or has cancer or been diagnosed with it. And I understand the confidentiality of it, and I'm sure there are a lot of things put in place to make sure that information stays where it's supposed to be.
We follow guidelines set forth by the World Health Organization, so it is confidential.
Right. And I'm a firm believer in that. But for me to say it's like me telling somebody don't speed. You know, it's hard for me to. That's why you have the police there, because people are going to speed. People are not going to give you the information unless you ask for it at the point of impact. So when it's there, the doctor can solicit and say, hey, this person has been diagnosed. They're 45 years old. It's a male. It's this, it's that. You know, they were found out a week ago and treatment is this. Mm-hmm. That is enough to get the ball moving in the right direction.
And we've got a great team of medical professionals and folks from cancer organizations who do a really good job of spreading the word about the registry. Just like you said, when someone first comes in, they say, by the way, there's this other thing that you can do which would really help. Mm-hmm. And it does get the ball rolling.
Of course.
So it's a challenge to do it this way, but I totally understand people's concerns about confidentiality. Mm-hmm. So we'll get it done. It just might take a little longer.
Just bear with us. And as I said earlier, you know, if you have a family member, if you yourself has been diagnosed and you're not registered, it might be a good thing to go ahead and do this. You know, you're helping the community that you are now part of.
Or at least, you know, give me a call and let's just talk about it, and then you can see what you think.
Yeah, and because half the time I think people are wary because they don't have the full picture. They have a little small snapshot of it. They don't see the complete ramification of what we're talking about.
Right.
And that's why I'm thankful for Miss Amica here, because people think, oh, cancer, it's just this negative. Yes, it's bad. Yes, it's going to change your life, but also you have a positive future with it.
Yes.
And I think, Miss Amica, you know, you are kudos to you. You have enlightened me and made me part of it. Tell me how you feel about the registry. We were talking about a person being a registrant to the cancer registry, being a survivor yourself. What's your thoughts on it?
Well, with the registry, I think it is good because it will give the doctors in Cayman, or say the Cancer Society, to know how many persons on the island is diagnosed with cancer.
Right, because right now we don't know.
Right.
Because some people do not want to talk about it.
Okay.
You know, so it's a good thing. You said you're with them 8 years. I remembered I registered from 2009. That time you didn't come on board yet.
No, I didn't. I wasn't on board.
So it was going on then.
From 2009?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. You registered?
I registered from 2009. I registered.
Wow.
I remember when I went to chemo department over by HSA, Andrew and Cindy at that time. And
your memory is good with names and people. Sweetheart, I tell you the truth. I can remember the year a song came out. I can remember the artist, but names and phone numbers,
those people I will never forget the name.
Wow.
And they said to me that there's a cancer registry, and Andrew said to me, will you feel comfortable for us to pull your file and give you the information? And I said, go ahead. Mm-hmm. And they just registered me right there.
And well, thank you again for doing that. I did that also.
Miss Amica, you are what I call a progressive. You know that you're a forerunner to the norm, because a lot of people they're hesitant, and you have a longer conversation about these types of things, and you're telling me this from 2009, and in between that time you were doing these and things. So how do you feel? What's your thoughts on the treatment and services?
Okay. The treatment was good, or it is good, because I'm not doing treatment anymore.
Right, okay.
And the services, it was good. I cannot complain. Sometimes, you hear people saying a negativity about HSA, but I cannot say that.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
I've never been through the negative side. Everything for me was positive. So I cannot say that. And I recommend people who've been diagnosed since of late. I said, where are you going to do your surgery? And they will say, might be L City or doctors. And I said, why not do it at HSA? And they said, no. I said, well, darling, I did 2 surgeries there for breast cancer. Because in all, I must have done 10 surgery at HSA.
Wow.
Different things. Hysterectomy, all kind of things.
Miss Amica, I am so glad to have met you.
So why should I leave Cayman and go to Miami to do breast cancer when my biggest surgery at the HSA was hysterectomy and I come out perfect?
Wow.
And it's nice if you can do it on island because you're surrounded by your family.
And you doesn't have to spend so much money to go away.
Yeah.
Traveling is stressful no matter where, and then having a health issue on top of it.
So I would recommend HSA to anyone, especially the breast cancer person, to do it there.
We have a National Survivors Day coming up. We're celebrating it for individuals like yourself, who have these triumphs over cancer. In wrapping up, is there anything you'd like to tell Cayman community of survivors, and those who recently have been diagnosed? Because, today I'm fine and I'm thinking I'm fine, and tomorrow I find out I can't have cancer. What would you tell me? What would you say?
Not saying you. If one is diagnosed with cancer, whether breast cancer, whatever cancer it may be, think positive. Do not have that negative thought. And if you want to go and get a second opinion, do so. I did not go for a second opinion. I just, it's breast cancer. I just go for it. But if you want to go for a second opinion, go so. And you're living on island, I will tell you, HSA have good surgeons. We have good oncologists over by the chemo section. And the nurses there, they are very good.
Wonderful.
They will take good care of you.
Wow.
Give HSA a try. You will prove them right.
Wow.
Yes.
Miss Amica, thank you.
It worked for me and it will work for others.
Thank you so much for stopping by here today. Miss Amanda, your final thoughts on it.
I'll just wrap up by saying that I hope cancer survivors who are listening have maybe started to think about possibly joining the registry if they haven't already. And I hope that folks will get in touch with me so that we can continue the conversation and move forward.
And give them their number once more and just a quick synopsis on how they can do that.
Sure. The number is 244-2560. And also, if you go on the HSA's website, there is a page on there with information about the cancer registry. It has my phone number, my email. We can register in person, via email, whatever is easiest.
Thank you, ladies, so much for stopping by here today. This is HSA Today. We will talk with you very, very soon. Take care. God bless.
Thank you for having us.